When a day goes well, I feel like I've learned less. Whether that's as a result of me not putting myself in an unoptimal of a position enough to make me learn, to make me grow, or whether that's just like some unhealthy mindset I've gained. Either way, if a day goes smoothly in terms of training, art, or the gym, if a day goes smoothly, I feel like there's more that I could have done to build my resilience, because resilience isn't really practiced on an easy day, or at least not enough, because that capacity to overcome challenge isn't tested on an easy, smooth day. Even though I feel like I have learned, and at the end of the day, if you learn something, and if you've studied enough to learn something and trained enough to improve, then you can't call a day unsuccessful, right? But at the same time, the very thing that I'm trying to learn comes from adversity, is learned by facing adversity. And don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about putting myself in some kind of like war zone and trying to escape from that and having that improve my life, no, very much scaled down and very much the kind of pussy version of that. Just doing things or attempting things that you can't do, and seeing how that affects your mind, and seeing how repeated failure affects your mind. And so, when you try to do things in a day and they end up going well, they end up going smoothly, the learning process is more smooth. Is that as a result of you not doing difficult enough things, or as a result of you actually having built a little bit of that resilience? I don't know. But I do know that either way, it wasn't difficult enough, whatever I did that day. It was a rest day in terms of physical training yesterday. I did some Hindu squats throughout the day to get some blood into my quads, which help. Obviously, they always help. Yeah, I'd say overall it went pretty well. I was having conversations with two friends yesterday, and I think, this is a bit off topic, but I think that a very raw, very a form of art that's very close to the core of what art is, I think, to people, to humans. I think it is communicating with people, right? Like just the fundamental act of communicating with people is a very core concept to art. Because in every piece of art, the goal is some kind of self-expression, right? If you're creating art, you're putting a piece of your humanity, your soul, and whatever makes you down onto a medium, onto a digestible medium, onto a medium that other people can experience and take in, and as a result learn something about you, about your humanity, and as a result a very small something about humanity as a whole. And And that whole process, that whole act is an act of communication by the artist to the viewer. And so conversation, actual direct communication, I think can only be referred to as art. That is if the conversation is kind of high quality enough that both sides feel like they're learning something about the other person. Any kind of conversation, and a heated, angry conversation, I suppose the way I'm kind of thinking about this is the kind of conversation that it comes from the want to understand the other person, but I suppose you're going to be learning about the other person regardless of the kind of conversation you're having. It could be an argument, it could be anything, so I suppose you can't really rule out those kind of things, but obviously the conversations that I have an affinity towards wouldn't be arguments. They'd be simply ones of me trying to understand the other person and trying to get my thoughts heard. And as a result, I'd be doing the same thing as I would if I was creating a piece of art. I'm trying to get myself heard, right? It's a form of self-expression, and conversation, communication is I think the most raw form of that. So yeah, I just wanted to get that down. Yeah, and yeah, I think just being slightly more selfless. I mean, it is a balance of selfless and selfishness, and you could definitely make the argument that everything's selfish, but and even if that's true, I think that selflessness, or as close as you can, become to it within reason, is a very virtuous act, and it's something that shouldn't be overlooked. It should never be overlooked. Right, back to art. I've been doing some studies. Big surprise there. I'm taking these robot mecha painting things that I did, and I'm trying to upgrade them into a more badass version, which I think is going pretty well. It's a very fun process, just making everything big and fucking epic. I've been looking at a lot of classic kind of sci-fi armor, sci-fi robot imagery, like Iron Man, Transformers, Pacific Rim as well. That was a badass movie. And what I think I'm kind of lagging at. I definitely think just shapes, raw shapes, shape aesthetics, shape combinations is definitely something that I need to get better at. And it's one of those things that I do know the principles. I have taken the time to learn what about shapes makes them good, right? But it's one of those things where you want to kind of drill it into your intuition. So I think that just a raw practice and kind of brute forcing it a little bit will yield good results in that area. Yeah, and that's about it. For the next set of studies, the next study sessions, I think I'm probably gonna try and focus on shapes a little more. It's a very fun. I find myself whenever I end up studying, I kind of revert back to a very all that the roads lead back to very fundamental elements of art, right? Which I guess that's why you can call them fundamentals. And it's a weird process in studying when I do enough of it, and eventually you find yourself going back to the fundamentals to try and improve them. I'm not sure if it's a good thing. If it's a good, way of thinking about studying. And maybe I'll try and kind of see what causes it in my next set of studies. Because I don't want to just be, for the rest of my studying days, be just focused on only the fundamentals. I want to be able to learn things outside of that. But again, they are fundamentals, so maybe the fact of the matter is I just haven't gotten skilled enough at them yet to be able to study anything above them in terms of complexity. I think there's definitely something to be said for that, but there's also something to be said for having the confidence to making that step yourself whenever you want. Either way, that's about all for today. Yeah, bye.